Erik ten Hag signs new 3-year contract as Manchester United manager. And in this video, I will break down all the details of it, as well as react and give my honest opinion. But before we get into that, please smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's show. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel as well. I am live every day at 8:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. UK time. So if you want to keep up to date with all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk, make sure you subscribe and get involved on the channel. So this story is coming out from Fabrizio Romano. He is reporting exclusive story confirmed. Erik ten Hag will sign his new contract as Manchester United manager in the next few days. He says it's all now been agreed, 100% done. There you go. Erik ten Hag stays, confirmed by the man himself, Mr. Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio doesn't put out fake stories. He doesn't put out lies. He wouldn't put this story out unless he knew that it was 100% true. But I wanted to do this video to kind of react to this moment. A video that we could look back on later on in the season. And a video to kind of capture how I honestly feel about Erik ten Hag staying as the Manchester United manager. But before we do that, I want to give you a bit more context about all of the other bits going on with Manchester United. So Benny McCarthy, the striker coach, is leaving. Mitchell van der Gaag, the assistant manager, is apparently leaving. And Steve McLaren, the other assistant manager, is also apparently leaving. All three of their contracts expire on June the 30th, and Manchester United will not be giving them new contracts. And you know what? I have zero issues with this whatsoever. I think Ineos need to put their stamp on the club, and this is probably their way of doing it. They are bringing in Ruud van Nistelrooy. That's amazing, isn't it? I cannot wait to see Ruud van Nistelrooy back at Manchester United. This was also confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that apparently Manchester United will add Ruud van Nistelrooy to their staff. And they're also going to add René Haak, who is the current manager of Go Ahead Eagles in the Eredivisie. The Go Ahead Eagles are very bottom of the Eredivisie team, but René Haak has managed to get them into Europe. Not this season, the season before. He's a very good manager. He's worked with Erik ten Hag before at FC Twente. He was Erik's assistant. And I'm happy about this. I think it's the correct decision. I don't really think that highly of Steve McLaren, to be honest with you. I think he's been around the game too long. I don't know all that much about Benny McCarthy, but we weren't scoring any goals last season. So would you really give Benny McCarthy a new contract if last season we only scored like 40 goals in the Premier League? I don't know. I don't think so. So I've got no issues with that whatsoever. It's a 3-year contract, okay? He's got 1 year left of his current deal. There was then the option to extend it by 1 other year. So effectively, he's currently got 2 years left on his current deal. So Manchester United are only really giving him an extra 1 year. The deal is going to be worth £27 million across 3 years, which is £9 million in wages per season. Not a terrible amount of money. I think that's probably fair. It works out at about £150,000 a week, which in the grand scheme of things is not bad at all for a manager of Erik ten Hag's calibre. If you compare that with someone like Pep Guardiola earns 32 million a year in wages. So Pep Guardiola will earn more in 1 season than Erik ten Hag will earn in 3 seasons. Now people will say, well, Pep Guardiola is a better manager, so of course he should earn more. I understand that. I get that. But I'm just trying to give you a bit of context here so people understand that the money that Erik ten Hag is receiving is not terrible. It's a very, very fair amount of money. I'm just having a look here. Crazy. Jurgen Klopp earns 15 million a year at Liverpool, or he did. Mad. So yeah, it's not bad at all. He's on 9 million a year, Erik ten Hag. Zero issues with that whatsoever. I think it's a fair amount of money. I think he's earned that. He's won us 2 trophies in back-to-back seasons. But let's do my honest reaction to this moment, because obviously the first time we lose a game, people are going to be like, sack him, sack him. I've stuck by Erik ten Hag through thick and thin through this season. Obviously, some of the football we've played has been absolutely unacceptable. But I do honestly believe that if Erik ten Hag has the correct people around him, the Dan Ashworths, the Jean-Claude Blancs, the Sir Dave Brailsfords, the Ruud van Nistelrooys, if he has this elite team around him, I do think he will succeed. I think he will be even more of a success than he is already. I think people underestimate Erik ten Hag. I think they underappreciate him. For him to have won the League Cup and then the FA Cup in back-to-back seasons is an incredible achievement, especially when you look at how poor we've been over the last decade. Before Erik ten Hag joined Manchester United, we hadn't won a trophy for 6 years. And he's just won 2 in back-to-back consecutive seasons. He's just beaten Manchester City, who've got the best team in the world, the best manager in the world, in an FA Cup final. He's brought through and nourished people like Kobe Mainoo, Garnacho, Willy Campoala, Rasmus Højlund. There's a lot of positives to be excited about with Erik ten Hag. Obviously, there are the negatives. There is the poor signings. But what I will say on the signings is that Erik ten Hag never seems to get his first choice options. Onana was his first choice option. I think Onana will come good. I think he was much better in the second half of the season. Antony was his first choice option. Obviously, that was a terrible signing. That's never going to be forgiven. Martinez was a great signing. But if you look at the other players that he bought, right? He wanted Frankie de Jong. He ended up with Casemiro. He wanted Harry Kane. He ended up with Rasmus Højlund. He wanted... who else did he want? I can't think off the top of my head. He wanted Mason Mount. I will never understand the Mason Mount signing, to be honest. That is the strangest signing we could have made. And my only rationale to explain why he went for Mason Mount was that he thought Bruno Fernandes was going to leave, because Mason Mount is a central attacking midfielder and Bruno Fernandes is the captain who doesn't get dropped. So it did seem a little bit strange, but yeah, I think overall the first choice signings that Erik ten Hag has got, I think he's got right. The Martinez's. I think Onana will come good. Antony was terrible. But then all the other players that he signed have been second and third choice, which effectively is then the fault of Richard Arnold and John Murtough, who were at the point the people negotiating the transfers. They didn't get him the players he wanted. They got him the backup options. You know, even last summer we wanted a centre-back. He wanted Kim Min-jae. He didn't get him. Like, he hasn't got everything he wanted. And I know a lot of people think his signings have been poor. A lot of people think that, you know, he doesn't deserve to have a say. His talent ID has been okay. He just hasn't got the players he wanted. He didn't get Frankie de Jong. He didn't get Harry Kane. He didn't get Kim Min-jae. He ended up with other options. I know Antony is the anomaly. People are always going to say, what about Antony? I'll never forgive him for that. The thing with Antony is, right, Erik ten Hag did not negotiate the 100 million euros fee for Antony. That wasn't him. That was John Murtough and Richard Arnold. John Murtough, Richard Arnold and the Glazers said, we're not going to buy Antony. We don't want him. And then waited until the day before the deadline of the transfer window to then submit an offer. And Ajax said, you're having a laugh. We want 100 million euros. And Man United stupidly paid it. Because if you remember at that point, we just lost the first game of the season, didn't we? We were beaten by Brighton at Old Trafford. And then I think we lost to Brentford as well. And straight off the back of that, they went and bought Casemiro and Antony. They went and got the credit card out and they wasted probably 150 million on 2 players. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's not Erik ten Hag's fault. That is the fault of John Murtough, the Glazers and Richard Arnold, who made a complete mess of it. And obviously John Murtough and Richard Arnold aren't here anymore. I would be very surprised if we ever make a mistake like that ever again. So yeah, we have to kind of put that as a live and learn, you know? We move on from it. We won't forget. But yeah. Now, let's look forward. Let's try and spin a bit of a positive on this. What is my expectation for this season? So for Manchester United this season, I think winning the Europa League is an absolute minimum. That has to happen without a shadow of a doubt. We're the best team in the Europa League. Remember, the teams don't drop down from the Champions League anymore. So we are literally the best team in the Europa League as it stands, okay? There won't be any teams coming down. Remember before Barcelona dropped down, didn't they? That won't happen. The rules have changed. The structure of the competition has changed. The Champions League clubs do not drop down. So winning the Europa League is an absolute minimum. I think top 6 is probably realistic. And I know some people are going to say we should be winning the league, blah, 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 sack him. Like, I think top 6 is realistic. I want to see better football. I don't want to see us losing at home to Bournemouth. I don't want to see us, you know, being embarrassed by lesser teams. I just want to see good football. And I want us to win the Europa League. If we won the FA Cup or the League Cup as a bonus, that would be amazing. But yeah, my kind of I'll be happy is if we win the Europa League, finish in the top 6. Obviously, if you win the Europa League, you get Champions League football anyway. So that's kind of my thinking behind it. But I want you guys to let me know in the comments section, what is your expectation from Erik ten Hag this season? Remember, it's a 3-year project, so it's not going to happen overnight. He's got a 3-year contract. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm going to wrap the video up here. This has been Daily Red Devil reacting to the news that Erik ten Hag is set to sign a new 3-year contract as the Manchester United manager. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment and subscribe to the channel. I'll speak to you very soon.